Hello, my name is Kishia Nixon, and I will be reading the last few pages of Episode 6, Hades. Gentle, sweet air blew round the bared heads and whisper. The boy by the grave head held his wreath with both hands, staring quietly in the black open space. Mr. Bloom moved behind the portly, kindly caretaker. Well-cut frock coat, weighing them up perhaps to see which will go next. Well, it is a long rest. Feel no more. It's the moment you feel. Must be damned unpleasant. Can't believe it at first. Mistake must be someone else. Try the house opposite. Wait, I wanted to. I haven't yet. Then darkened death chamber. Light they want. Whispering around you, would you like to see a priest? Then rambling and wandering. Delirium all you hid all your life. The death struggle. His sleep is not natural. Press his lower eyelid, watching his nose. Pointed is his jaw. Sinking are the soles of his feet yellow. Pull the pillow away and finish it off on the floor since he's doomed. Devil in that picture of the sinner's death showing him a woman, dying to embrace her in his shirt. Last act of Lucia. Shall I never more behold thee? Bam. He expires. Gone at last. People talk about you a bit. Forget you. Don't forget to pray for him. Remember him in your prayers. Even Parnell. Ivy Day dying out. Then they follow, dropping into a hole, one after the other. We are praying now for the repose of his soul, hoping you're well and not in hell. Nice change of air. Out of the frying pan of life into the fire of purgatory. Does he ever think of the hole waiting for himself? They say you do when you shiver in the sun, someone walking over it. Call boys warning. Near you. Mine. Over there toward Finglass. The plot I bought. Mama. Poor Mama and little Rudy. The grave diggers took up their spades and flung heavy clods of clay in on the coffin. Mr. Bloom turned away his face. And if he was alive all the time? Oof, by jingle, that would be awful. No, he's dead. Of course, he is dead. He died Monday. They ought to have some law to pierce the heart and make sure, or an electric clock, or a telephone in the coffin in some kind of canvas air hole. Flag of distress. 3 days. Rather long to keep them in the summer. Just as well to get shut off them as soon as you know they are sure there is no. The clay fell softer, began to be forgotten. Out of sight, out of mind. The caretaker moved away a few paces and put on his hat. Had enough of it. The mourners took heart of grace, one by one, covering themselves without show. Mr. Bloom put on his hat and saw the portly figure make his way deftly through the maze of the graves. Quietly, sure of his ground, he traversed the dismal fields. Hines jotting down something in his notebook. Ah, the names. But he knows them all. No. Coming to me. I'm just taking the names, Hines said below his breath. What is your Christian name? I'm not sure. L, Mr. Bloom said. Leopold. And you might put down McCoy name too. He asked me to. Charlie, Hines said, writing. I know. He was on the Freeman once. So he was before he got the job in the morgue under Lewis Burn. Good idea, a post-mortem for doctors. Find out what they imagine they know. He died of a Tuesday, got the run, levanted with the cash of a few ads. Charlie, you're my darling. That's why he asked me to. Oh well, there's no harm. I saw that, McClure. Thanks, old chap. Much obliged. Leave him under obligation, costs nothing. And tell us, Hein said. Do you know that fellow in the... fellow was over there in the... He looked around. Macintosh, yes, I saw him, Mr. Bloom said. Where is he now? Macintosh, Hein said, scribbling. I don't know who he is. Is that his name? He moved away, looking about him. No, Mr. Bloom began, turning and stopping. I say, Hans, didn't hear... What? Where has he disappeared to? Not a sign. All the... Has anybody here seen K-double-L become invisible? Good Lord, what became of them? A seventh grade digger came beside Mr. Bloom to take up an idle spade. Oh, excuse me. He stepped aside nimbly. Clay-brown damp began to be seen in the hole. It rose. Nearly over. A mound of damp clods rose, and the grave diggers rested their spades, all uncovered again for a few instants. The boy propped his wreath against the corner, the brother-in-law his on the lump. The grave diggers put on their caps and carried their earthly spades towards the barrow. They knocked the blades lightly on the turf, clean. One bent to pluck from the haft a long tuft of grass. One, leaving his mates, walked slowly on the shoulder weapon, its blade blue glancing. Silently, at the grave head, another coiled the coffin band, his navel cord. The brother-in-law, turning away, placed something in his free hand. Thanks in silence. Sorry, sir. Troubled. Head shake, I know that. For yourselves, just... The mourners moved away slowly, without aim, by devious paths, staying at while to read a name on the tomb. Let us go around by the chief's graves, Hines said. We have time. Let us, Mr. Powell said. They turned to the right, following their slow thoughts. With awe, Mr. Powell's blank voice spoke. Some say he is not in that grave at all, that the coffin was filled with stones, that one day he will come again. Hines shook his head. Parnell will never come again, he said. He's there. All that was mortal of him, peace to his ashes. Mr. Bloom walked unheeded along his grove by satin angels, crosses, broken pillars, family vaults, stone hopes praying with upcast eyes, old Ireland hearts and hands. More sensible to spend the money on some charity for the living. Pray for the repose of the soul. Does anybody really? Plant him and have done with him, like down a coal chute, then lump them together to save them. All Souls Day, 27th. I'll be at his grave. 10 shillings for the gardener. He keeps it free of weeds. Old man himself, bent down, doubled with his shears, clipping near death's door. Who passed away, who departed this life, as if they did it out of their own accord, got the shove, all of them, who picked the bucket. More interesting if they told you what they were. So-and-so will write. I traveled for Court Lino. I paid 5 shillings in the pound, or a woman's with her saucepan. I cooked good Irish stew, eulogy in a country churchyard. It ought to be that poem of, who is it, Wordsworth or Thomas Campbell. Enter into rest, the Protestant put it. Old Dr. Mearns, the great physician, called him home, while its gods acred for them. Nice country residence, newly plastered and painted. Ideal spot to have a quiet smoke and read the church times. Marriage ads they never tried to beautify. Rusty wreaths hung on doorknobs, garlands of bronze fold. Better value that for the money. Still, the flowers are more poetical. The other gets rather tiresome, never withering, expresses nothing. Immortals. A bird sat tamely perched on a poplar branch. Like stuffed, like the wedding present Alderman Hooper gave us. Whew! Not a budge out of him. No, there's no catapults to left flying at him. Dead animals even sadder. Silly Millie burying the little dead bird in the kitchen box, a daisy chain and bits of broken chainies on the grave. The Sacred Heart, that is, showing it. Heart on his sleeve. Ought to be sideways and red. It should be painted like a real heart. Ireland was dedicated to it, or whatever that. Seems anything but pleased. Why this affliction? Would birds come then and peck the boy with the basket of fruit? But he said no because they ought to have been afraid of the boy? Apollo, that was. How many? All these here once walked around Dublin, faithful departed. As you are now, so once were we. Besides, how could you remember everybody? Eyes, walk, voice. Well, the voice, yes, gramophone. Have a gramophone in every grave or keep it in the house after dinner on a Sunday. Put it on old great-grandfather. Crack, crack. Hello, hello, hello. I'm awfully glad, crack, awfully glad seeing you again. Hello, hello, I am awfully... Reminds you of the voice, like the photograph reminds you of the face. Otherwise, you couldn't remember the face after 15 years, say. For instance, who? For instance, some fellow that died when I was in Wisdom Hellies. Whoosh, a rattle of pebbles. Wait. Stop. He looked down intently into a stone crypt. Some animal. Wait. There he goes. An obese gray rat toddled along the side of the crypt, moving the pebbles. An old stagger. Great-grandfather, he knows the ropes. The gray alive crushed itself in under the film, wiggled itself in under it. Good hiding place for treasure. Who lives there? Are laid the remains of Robert Emery. Robert Emmett was buried here by torchlight, wasn't he? Making his rounds. Tail gone now. One of those chaps would make short walk of the fellow. Pick the bones clean, no matter who it was. Ordinary meat for them. A corpse is meat gone bad. Well, and what's cheese? Corpse of milk. I've read in the Voyages in China that Chinese say a white man smells like a corpse. Cremation's better. Priests dead against it, deviling for the other firm. Wholesale burners and Dutch oven dealers. Time of the plague. Quick lime fever pits to eat them. Ether chambers. Ashes to ashes. Or buried at sea. Where's that Paris-sea tower of silence? Eaten by birds. Earth, fire, water. Drowning, they say, is the pleasantest. See your whole life in a flash. But being brought back to life, no. Can't bury in the air, however. Out of a flying machine. Wonder, does the news go about whenever a fresh one is let down? Underground communication. We learned that from them. Wouldn't be surprised. Regular square feed for them. Flies come before he's well dead. Got wind of Dignam. They wouldn't care about the smell of it. Salt white crumbling mush of corpse. Smell. Tastes like raw white turnips. The gates glimmered in front. Still opened. Back to the world again. Enough of this place. Brings you a bit nearer every time. Last time I was here was Mrs. Sinico's funeral. Poor Papa's too. The love that kills. And even scraping up the earth at night with a lantern, like that case I read of to get a fresh buried females, or even putrefied with running grave sores. Give you the creeps after a bit. I will appear to you after death. You will see my ghost after death. My ghost will haunt you after death. There is another world after death named hell. I do not like that other world, she wrote. No more do I. Plenty to see and hear and feel yet. Feel live, warm beings near you. Let them sleep in their maggoty beds. They're not going to get me this innings. Warm beds. Warm, full-blooded life. Martin Cunningham emerged from a side path, talking gravely. Solicitor, I think. I know his face. Milton. John Henry, solicitor, commissioner for oaths and affidavits. Dignam used to be in his office. Matt Dillon's long ago. Jolly Matt. Convivial evenings. Cold fowl, cigars, the tantalus glasses. Heart of gold, really. Yes, Milton. Got his rag out that evening on the Bowling Green because I sailed inside him. Pure fluke of mine, the biased. Why he took such a rooted dislike of me. Hate at first sight. Molly and Foley Dillon linked under the lilac trees laughing. Fellow always like that, mortified if women are by. Got a dinge in the side of his hat. Carriage, probably. Excuse me, sir, Mr. Bloom said beside them. They stopped. Your hat is a little crushed, Mr. Bloom said, pointing. John Henry Milton stared at him for an instant without moving. There, Martin Cunningham helped, pointing also. John Henry Milton took off his hat, bulged out the ding, and smoothed the nap with care on his coat sleeve. He clapped the hat on his head again. It's all right now, Martin Cunningham said. John Henry Milton jerked his head down in acknowledgement. Thank you, he said shortly. They walked on towards the gate. Mr. Bloom, kept falling, drew behind a few paces so as not to overhear. Martin laying down the law. Martin could wind a sappy head like that around his finger without his seeing it. Oyster eyes. Never mind. Be sorry after perhaps when it dawns on him. Get the pull over him that way. Thank you. How grand we are this morning. Happy Bloomsday from the Rosenbach.